this phone isn't for me. And that's okay. Just because the Galaxy S24 isn't one that I would personally use, doesn't mean you shouldn't. I am not the target Galaxy S24 user, but I know who is. For my S24 review, I'm going to channel my inner S24 consumer so I can give you what you need to know about using this phone in your everyday life. Daniel here from SamMobile TV. This is our full review of the Galaxy S24. You might not want to hear the thoughts of a guy who doesn't use the S24 as his day-to-day phone about how you should be using the Galaxy S24 as your day-to-day phone. But I am very experienced in the Galaxy ecosystem and I know where certain phones belong and what features certain people will respond to. And for this phone, there's a whole bunch of things that fall into different categories that I think users will get a lot out of. We're going to look at things like the design, the cameras, and the performance, of course, but they're going to be through the lens of what someone who uses this phone will be using when they are using it. And of course, we start with the design. The S24 actually feels exceptionally nice to hold in the hand. Even for someone who likes big phones like myself, it feels very comfortable and it's very cute to sort of fit in the hand. But it's by no means small. When you consider the fact that a 6.2-inch screen was the size of the Galaxy Note 9, you start to realize that, yeah, Samsung have pushed the boundaries of display and bezels to their limit in phones in recent years to make this actually seem small. It's compact and it's comfortable to carry in one hand, which means that one-handed usage is going to be great, being able to reach the display from the other side quite comfortably. Its matte frame gives it a really nice sophisticated feel, but also one that's consistent, because from the back glass to the sides, you've got the same finish, even though one's aluminium and one's Gorilla Glass Victus 2. When you turn the device around from that comfort, you actually are greeted with an exceptional display. So whilst it might look like the baby of the family, the S24 series, you still get the same panel, minus the Quad HD Plus resolution, as the S24 Plus and the S24 Ultra. 2600 nits of brightness, all surrounded by Samsung's thinnest and most symmetrical bezels on a flat screen smartphone to date. It's crazy that those bezels are this thin, even though we've had curved displays in the past which make it look even more dramatic. The display inside those bezels though is the hero here. Samsung, with its new panel that's on here, with that new peak brightness I spoke about, means that you can take this outdoors and you have absolutely no trouble in being able to see it and interact with it. And what's so great about it is versus last year's S23, you get an exceptional level of brightness that allows you to see more but also capture more with the camera, because everything is just accurately brightened on the screen. That's what I like about it. It's not just brightened, but it's accurate as well. And because the bezels are basically non-existent, you get a really nice screen to watch content on as well, filling the entire display if you wanted to, and then the tiny punch hole camera barely makes an intrusion. It's one complete package for design and display that is compact, and you don't miss out, so you don't need to go bigger to get more. Samsung have put enough in here to give you what you need, and then some. Part of that new display that Samsung have made too is enabling a new always on display feature, making your lock screen be able to be made your always on display background as well. But they've done it in a very Samsung way. Not only do you get the options of being able to make it auto, so the phone will then decide when it comes on based on the conditions that you're in, but they've also allowed you to remove the background from any lock screen that you've got. If you have a photo of like a child and you want that background removed and just isolate the child, you can do that. And what that does is it makes the background black, saving and conserving battery. Wherever you see black on the screen, that pixel is in fact turned off. And there's a nice transition effect from always on display all the way through to your main part of the phone. And Samsung have really sort of refined that whole experience, sort of completing the display and how good it is on the S24. Then we get into cameras. Not a lot can be said about the hardware that hasn't either already been said because it's the same hardware as the S23 and then S22, or that other people have said as well. But Samsung have gone to work here with the processing, and it's actually become a really enjoyable camera system to use, even if the hardware is not new. The thing is, there's enough here for the user of this phone to sink their teeth into and get the output that they want. It's almost like a no fuss, no frills camera, but there is still frills in there. You just either need to know where to look, and if you don't know where to look, the actual performance of the cameras will be fine on their own. It's great. The camera app itself is stacked full of functional and very useful camera modes that over the years Samsung has been honing and refining to make sure that what's in here is plenty, but also actually beneficial for how you capture your world around you. Myself personally, I actually still get a lot out of the cameras that are on offer here. Even though it's a triple camera setup and you lose that long range zoom from the Ultra, the consumer of this phone isn't likely to really be bothered by that, because the 3x camera, the ultra wide and the main give you enough flexibility paired with modes like single take. Using single take with the 3 rear cameras now, with the way they've made it on the S24, means that you can still get closer to your subject versus what you could last year with the S23. And I'm an avid single take user, so I could easily jump down to this phone with its cameras because I will use single take to its full potential. Alongside that too, Samsung have changed director's view to be dual recording, which means I can record 2 rear cameras at the exact same time and save them as separate individual videos. That's probably been my favorite update that Samsung have made. And again, if I had to drop down to this phone, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world, to be honest. I could get more out of these cameras than probably the average person would, because I know what these features and functions are capable of. And I think for the right individual, they will be able to get that as well, because this still offers you so much from this set of cameras. Samsung have improved the performance of the camera too, and I think I really enjoy rapidly snapping photos of things in front of me, even though that's never how you should take a photo, because it's a nightmare going through your camera roll afterwards. It's still nice that the ceiling of performance has been lifted, that you can do that, not that you should. And then the processing. You can only compare it to the phone that's from last year, and compared to last year, the Exynos powered S24 provides some really nice contrast and dramatic effect when it comes to things like clouds, and even sharper detail as well as you sort of crop into the image. So yes, there's a massive processing difference, but I've enjoyed taking photos with this camera because of the output that it gives me. Actually gives me a bit of life and a bit of drama. And yeah, from its camera standpoint, this is going to be more than enough. Quickly snapping a photo at a play center, at a playground, or if you're wanting to take a bit more artful shots at the beach, the S24 has got it. And from all cameras, the ultra wide is really great. The main 1x camera is also really good, as is the 3x camera, but all taking really sharp photos. Samsung seem to have also optimized longer range zoom with the 3x camera here, because at 10x, it's giving me some nice color and detail also. At the higher resolution stage, the 50 megapixel shot is also giving me more detail compared to the S23. You can see that in sort of the rocks down the bottom. So I like what Samsung have done. Video too. There's a plethora of video modes and options, but also just the fact that processing from photos translates over to video too. So when you're taking videos at the beach or you're following people around, you're going to get some really nice crisp video attached with all the plethora of video options that you get here too. With all that praise though, it would be remiss of me not to mention the fact that Samsung have stagnated the cameras of the base and the plus for a few generations now. That's not to say that the person using this phone will likely be bothered too much, because a lot of people upgrading to the newer Samsung, they just upgrade it because it's the newer Samsung. They don't really ask what the cameras are, they just expect them to be better. And there is enough here that makes them better than previous generations. I just wish, from my point of view, Samsung would push the boundaries a little bit more. Maybe make the 50 megapixel sensor larger, or as large as the 200 from the Ultra. Definitely improve the 3x and the ultra wide, because I think that will bring it on par with flagships of 2024. But again, I'm not the person here that Samsung are targeting. And for me, the innovation and the hardware that I want exists already on the Ultra, so I would just naturally upgrade myself to that. So for the person buying this is more than enough for what they want out of their phone, and the software and processing improvements and all the camera modes that Samsung have done to the S24 make it the optimum choice if you don't want to go and spend that ultra money. I appreciate the business strategy, even if I don't fully support it. And the last point here is to do with performance and software. Starting with the software side of things, there is a big gap in terms of what you might be upgrading from to what you're upgrading to, especially with One UI 6.1. Some phones will be getting One UI 6.1 back down the line. Doesn't mean they're getting the full hog, especially when you consider Galaxy AI. I am all in on Galaxy AI. I find the functions that Samsung have brought here are meaningful and can actually transform how you use your phone. That might sound like hyperbole, but trust me, it's not. Because modes like generative edit, even though we've had object eraser, generative AI and the photo editing is so much more powerful because it's actually generating an entirely new background for you. So you can really be complex with how you want to reshape your photo. And that might sound untruthful or dishonest, but honestly, if something's distracting the background of your photo, you want to remove it. And this phone is capable of doing that and generating an entirely new thing so it looks natural. But the most useful features outside of that I really like are stuff to do with Samsung Notes and Samsung Internet. Being able to summarize an entire web page and output and dot point what the article is about or what that website is sort of trying to tell me is fantastic. If it's a step-by-step breakdown of something, if it's a match report of a football match, it's honestly so useful to have that. And then in Samsung Notes, being able to automatically format a notes file. So if it's just this big body of text, I can format it into a way that's more functional and readable so then I can send it to people. Absolutely is such a good tool, and they're built into Samsung's first party solutions. So you can't really deny that it's more useful than what it has been before. And then from a battery life point of view, because I am not using this phone day to day, I don't really have the most honest appraisal of that battery life for you. What I can tell you is from an improvement point of view, Samsung have upped it to 4,000 milliamp hours. And even though there's a slightly bigger screen, the new processors, both the Snapdragon variant and the Exynos 2400, are definitely going to be more efficient and draw less power from the battery for day-to-day sort of use cases. And for the person using this phone, they're not likely to be the power-hungry user like myself, so a 4,000 mAh battery will give them exceptional coverage over the course of a day or a day and a half. And with 25 watt fast charging, it seems weird to say fast charging with 25 watt in front of it, but it still gives you that flexibility to quickly charge it when you need to. And don't be scared by the Exynos 2400. I just did on SamMobile TV a full comparison between the S24 Plus and the S24 Ultra, the Exynos versus Snapdragon. And in terms of performance, you're not likely to see a discernible difference. In fact, there probably won't be in sort of your day-to-day use case. So don't be put off by it, because it will still give you great levels of performance and good enough efficiency to get you through your day. You can recommend this phone to the right person. Likely, hardcore Samsung fans will probably be disappointed with the S24 because it doesn't push the boundaries of innovation and technology like the Ultra or the Fold does. But that is not the purpose of this. This phone exists to appease the general consumer who wants to upgrade to the next Samsung phone. What Samsung has done here is created some parity in terms of feature set with things like the display and things like Galaxy AI to ensure there's a consistent experience across the three models. But if you truly are seeking that next level, that's where you would go to the Ultra. S Pen, extra cameras, it's all about the extra level of hardware that the S24 Ultra gives you over the S24. That's not to say this phone couldn't have been more. It's like the iPhone argument. Apple put the iPhone 15 with the 60 Hz display. Yeah, the general consumer probably won't mind, but doesn't mean it's the right thing to do. At least with Samsung, there is that adaptive 1 to 120 Hz refresh rate. You still get the exceptional panel that matches the other two phones as well. So that Samsung are doing it better doesn't mean they couldn't be even better again. Thanks for watching our S24 review. We have our S24 Plus review coming, so make sure you hit that subscribe button. And also for any other future content you want to see, this will be the place to view it regarding Samsung. You can also go check out our website, sammobile.com. That's where we put opinions, thoughts, current tech news, Samsung tech news, and just about anything that you could think of regarding Samsung onto that website. So go check it out. Follow us on our other social platforms. We have X, Instagram, and TikTok, and we'll see you guys next time. Thanks.